What we were able to determine was that, as you know, SPUR generates a cloud of numbers every time a patient goes through it. So we have our non-adherence risk. That's the most important thing. Is the patient at risk of not adhering to the therapy that has been prescribed? We also generate the relative importance of 13 different drivers. So there are 13 different behavioral drivers, which are categorized into our 4 categories: social, psychological, usage, and rational, so SPUR. And those 13 different drivers all contribute in various ways to the risk of non-adherence. We always knew that. But what we wanted to do was to see how they influence each other. Not just how they correlate, but how they actually influence each other. Is there a specific path? Is there a psychological and behavioral path through those drivers that eventually leads to behavior? Through structural equation modeling, we found some fascinating things. Notably, what we found is that the usage and the rational drivers are strongly influenced by many of the psychological and social drivers. If we take one of our psychological drivers, for instance, reactance, it directly contributes to the risk of non-adherence. We've always known that. Not only does it do that, but it also indirectly contributes even more because it influences certain rational and usage drivers. Fundamentally, what it means is the following. There are some deep-seated drivers that are not expressed directly, that in fact, or that are not entirely expressed directly. In fact, they are expressed by the patient through a rationalization process. So if you are a physician and I'm a patient, and I decide not to follow entirely the treatment or at all the treatment that you prescribed for me, you realize that and you ask me why. And I respond and I say to you, I'm not sure about its efficacy, or I don't like the side effects, or in certain instances, following the treatment as a whole is a financial burden. Well, all of these things are true. I said them and they're true and they have to be addressed. But for many patients, that's not enough. For some patients, that's it, right? But for others, in reality, those are partially or maybe even fully rationalizations of the fact that I don't like being told what to do. So if you just tell me, let me tell you exactly how this medication works. You said you're not sure of its efficacy. I can prove to you it works. Well, with some patients, that's absolutely sufficient. But for patients who are also reactant, what we've discovered is that if you do that, that's not going to help all that much. Because in reality, I don't like being told what to do. And that's why I express these other reticence. And if you just take a high-handed approach and prove to me something, you haven't proven anything. All you've done is reactivated my reactance. And this is very interesting. It corresponds to a lot of psychological theory. And we've actually seen it in action statistically in this larger database through structural equation modeling. Personally, I find that fascinating. Evidently, the publishers at Nature found it fascinating as well, and hence we were published in scientific reports. And that's the most important scientific finding that we've found.